He whispered, "I'll never hurt you," as he held me close. But then I saw my sister's name saved as Wifey on his phone. I still remember how cold the air was that night, the stars blurred by the fog of my own breath as we stood on my parents' deck during that winter bonfire. It was late December, and the snow clung stubbornly to the trees, glittering under the lights we'd hung just the week before. Aiden had just handed me a cup of cider, steam curling upward, when he leaned in and whispered that line. "I'll never hurt you." His voice was warm, low, protective, and I believed him. Every part of me, every wounded piece I had buried deep inside since childhood, melted in that moment. That's the kind of thing no one prepares you for. When someone sees right through your insecurities and makes promises that feel like lifelines. I didn't know then what those words would come to mean. I didn't know they'd echo in my head like a curse, long after the warmth had turned to ash. But back then, it felt like magic. We met by accident, as most disasters do. Aiden was my cousin Armin's college roommate. I'd come home for the holidays after my final semester, burnt out, confused about the future, and in no mood to socialize. But family pressure pulled me into that bonfire night. And there he was, tall, dark sweater, a little scruff on his jaw, that quiet confidence some men wear like armor. He wasn't loud or pushy. He didn't try to charm me. He just listened. He asked real questions. Remembered little details. I told him I liked almond croissants and rainy days, and a week later he brought me one at the coffee shop where I studied. He was persistent, but in a respectful, patient way. And slowly, he slipped into my life like a soft song you don't realize you're humming until it's already stuck in your head. Within a month, we were talking every day. Within 3, we were exclusive. He moved to my city after 6 months for a job. Everyone said we were perfect together, even my parents who'd never approved of anyone before him. And Sabrina. She was the first person I told about him. My older sister. The girl who'd wiped my scraped knees, snuck me out to midnight movies, covered for me when I was late from parties. We were more than sisters, we were best friends. And she adored him. At least, she acted like she did for me. Finally, she'd say, "Someone who isn't trash." When Aiden met her, he told me she was charming. I didn't think anything of it. I was used to guys being a little starstruck by Sabrina. She had that effect, sharp jaw, wavy hair, laugh like a siren. People noticed her. Always had. But she never made me feel small. Not until later. In those first 2 years, I was happy. Actually happy, not the curated Instagram kind, but the deep, unshakable kind. Aiden knew when I was overthinking before I did. He'd drop by with soup when I was sick, dance with me barefoot in the kitchen to cheesy 90s music, surprise me with letters instead of texts. He made me feel seen. I'd never had that before. Not from my absent father. Not from the boy who left me for someone prettier. Not from the world that always told me I was almost enough. With Aiden, I felt chosen. And yet, little cracks began to show. Not loud ones. Just soft, quiet creaks in the floorboards of our story. The way his phone always stayed face down. The moments he seemed distracted during dinner. The brief silences when I mentioned Sabrina's name. I told myself I was paranoid, insecure, that it was just trauma from my past whispering lies into my ear. But instincts don't lie. I just wasn't brave enough to listen. One afternoon, I came home early from work. Aiden was in the shower. His phone buzzed. I glanced out of habit. Can't stop thinking about last night. My stomach clenched. No name. Just the preview. I froze. For 10 whole minutes I stared at that screen, the world swimming around me. I told myself not to touch it. I told myself it could be anything. But my hands moved anyway. I picked it up, and there it was. Contact name, Wifey. My brain tried to reason. Maybe it's a joke, a prank, some app glitch. But I tapped it anyway. And the message thread opened into chaos. Photos, texts, voice notes, all from one number. Sabrina. Not some stranger. Not an ex. My sister. I remember the exact moment my knees buckled. I sank to the floor, phone still in hand, fingers trembling so violently I nearly dropped it. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't even breathe. How long? How could she? Why her? There were photos of them at restaurants, in a hotel room, my necklace on the nightstand. There were messages timestamped during the same weekend she told me she was with the girls or at yoga. She'd sat across from me, sipping coffee and giving me relationship advice while sleeping with my boyfriend. And him? He told her he'd never stopped loving her, that she was the only one who understood him, that I was a mistake he couldn't undo, a distraction he got trapped in out of guilt. My world cracked open like glass under pressure. And then he walked out of the shower, water still dripping from his hair, humming. He saw me, saw the phone in my hand, saw my face, and just stopped. His eyes scanned the screen. We stared at each other in silence. And when I finally choked out, "Why?" he just shook his head. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he whispered. "That's it. No fight. No guilt. No apology. Just indifference. Like I was collateral damage in a war I never even knew was being fought." I don't remember how long I sat there after he left the apartment. I don't remember how many tears I shed or how many times I threw up from the heartbreak. But I remember one thing crystal clear. The sound of my own heart breaking felt like thunder in a silent room. And in that storm, something else was born. Something cold. Something sharp. I had given them both everything. My love. My trust. My loyalty. And they had handed me betrayal wrapped in kisses and lies. But I wasn't going to cry forever. Because storms, once they pass, leave behind one thing: silence. And in silence, revenge sharpens itself. There's a unique kind of betrayal that doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your identity. Who you are, who you thought you were, and what you thought your life meant, all of it collapses under the weight of someone else's choices. After Aiden left that day, the silence in the apartment screamed louder than any fight ever could. I couldn't call Sabrina. I couldn't even look at her name in my phone without shaking. I stared at her contact photo, a selfie we took last fall at the pumpkin patch, laughing, our arms around each other like we were untouchable. It felt disgusting now. Was she laughing at me in that photo? Was she already with him then? I wanted to believe it was recent, a drunken mistake, a moment of weakness. But I knew better. Months. It had been going on for months. The text went back 27 weeks. I counted, like it would help. I sat on the floor until it was dark, until my body was too numb to move. The lights never came on. I didn't eat. I didn't cry anymore. I just froze, mentally replaying every interaction I'd had with both of them. Every double take Aiden gave when Sabrina walked into a room. Every hug that lasted just a little too long. Every time she called him brother-in-law with a smirk. They thought I was too blind to see it. Maybe I was. The next day, I didn't go to work. Or the day after that. I ignored my phone until it died. Let it stay dead. Until one knock changed everything. It was her. Sabrina. Wearing sunglasses, coffee in hand like nothing had happened. She was humming when I opened the door. And for one glorious second, I thought, maybe she doesn't know I know. Maybe there's still a version of this story where she explains everything away. But she took one look at me and froze. "Shit," she whispered. Her voice cracked like glass against tile. She knew. I didn't say a word. I just walked back inside and left the door open. She followed. "Please," she began, setting the coffee down like a peace offering. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" I cut in, staring at her with eyes I didn't recognize anymore, eyes that belonged to someone broken but boiling. "That you've been sleeping with my boyfriend? Or that you've been lying to me while pretending to be my best friend?" She went pale. "It wasn't like that," she said. "It wasn't planned." I laughed. I actually laughed. It was sharp, hollow, bitter. You tripped and fell onto his D? Stop, she snapped. You think I don't hate myself for this? I stepped forward. No, I don't think you do. Because if you hated yourself, you wouldn't have kept doing it for months. Her jaw tightened. You weren't happy with him, she said quietly. You just didn't want to admit it. I blinked. What? You were settling, she said, her voice growing steadier now, as if she believed this was some twisted intervention. You loved the idea of him. Not him. You were obsessed with the fantasy. She said it so calmly, like she was doing me a favor. Like her betrayal was justified. I felt something snap inside me. You're insane, I said. You're actually insane. She flinched. You chose to lie to me. Every day. You kissed my cheeks with the same mouth you used to tell him you loved him. You hugged me like a sister after sleeping in my bed. How the hell do you live with yourself? She didn't answer. Tears filled her eyes, but I didn't care. I had cried enough for both of us. You didn't deserve him, she whispered finally. Neither did I. But we found something real. Real? That word hit like a gunshot. I walked to the door, opened it, and stared at her. Leave. She hesitated. I said, get the hell out of my house, Sabrina. She walked to the door with trembling steps. I thought she might turn around, apologize, beg something. But instead, she looked me in the eye and said softly, You'll thank me one day. She left. But her words didn't. You'll thank me one day. Like she was the hero. Like she had saved me from something. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Hardened. That was the moment my heartbreak began turning into something colder. Something that could burn. A week passed. Then 2. I didn't speak to either of them. They tried. God, they tried. Aiden showed up at my door 5 times. Left notes under my windshield. Sent me voice messages saying it was a mistake, that he still loved me, that he was just confused. Sabrina texted twice. No apologies. Just, hope we can talk soon. I miss you. I didn't respond. But I watched. I watched everything. Social media was a treasure trove of carefully curated lies. Aiden's feed went dark. Sabrina posted cryptic quotes about truth and self-love. Then, one day, she posted a story, her hand in someone else's, rings visible. Not engagement rings. Wedding bands. I blinked. No. No. This couldn't be real. I checked again. Aiden's last post? A black and white photo caption. She was the light in the storm. No tags. But I knew. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had married. Without telling anyone. No ceremony. No family. Just a secret courthouse wedding. Barely legal, barely real. Like they were hiding from the shame of it. Or maybe just hiding from me. Good. Let them hide. Because they had no idea what was coming. In those next few weeks, I rebuilt myself quietly, not with healing, but with calculation. I moved through my days like a shadow with a pulse. On the outside, I was calm. But inside, I was counting every lie. Every touch. Every fake laugh. Every secret. I started journaling everything. Every timeline, every discrepancy. I pieced together their lies like a crime scene, reconstructing every move, every visit, every text Sabrina had sent while sitting beside me on the couch. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. And I was done being the collateral. People talk about heartbreak like it's loud, like crying in the middle of the night, screaming into a pillow, smashing things. But for me, heartbreak was quiet. It was staring at my ceiling fan in the dark. It was brushing my teeth and forgetting to rinse. It was walking into the grocery store and forgetting what I came for. It was silence, complete and consuming. After I found out they got married, something inside me just turned off. Like someone reached into my chest and pulled out the last flicker of warmth, leaving behind nothing but cold calculation. I didn't cry anymore. I watched. I observed. I listened. I started going through everything Aiden ever gave me. Letters, gifts, photos, every memory. Not to wallow, no, that stage had passed. I was looking for patterns, for leverage, for clues. And I found them. There was a journal he'd kept, stupidly romantic, handwritten, filled with little entries about me, about his girls, even about the affair. He had written in it after our anniversary dinner last year. The dinner he planned with me, only to sleep with my sister the very next night. The page read, I should feel guilt. But with Sabrina, it's like being alive again. I love her recklessness. With her, I feel free. My hands trembled as I read those words. Not from pain, but from rage. So that was it? I was safe. I was comfort. But she was freedom? I had been his emotional support dog, and she was the forbidden spark. I kept the journal. I scanned every page, took photos, stored them in a password-protected folder. Evidence. Because I wasn't going to do something reckless. No, that would make me like them. I was going to do something smart. Something permanent. The plan formed slowly, piece by piece. It started with information. I knew Aiden had just landed a new job at a media firm, one that prided itself on integrity, trust, and community. I knew Sabrina had started a coaching brand about women empowerment, ironic, given what she did to her own sister. I also knew they both had secrets. Aiden had once confessed, years ago, that he'd exaggerated parts of his resume. He wasn't as qualified as he claimed. He even used a friend's project portfolio to land his last job. He laughed when he told me. Don't worry, he said. No one checks these things. Well, I would. Over the next few weeks, I did something no one expected. I smiled. At work, I smiled. With friends, I laughed. I posted happy photos on Instagram. Flowers, lats, old memories. My profile sparkled with life again, a careful illusion. Because while the world saw a healed woman, I was building an arsenal. I reached out to Aiden's ex-colleague from his old firm, the one he said was jealous of him. I pretended I needed a reference check, asked vague questions, poked a little. Within 15 minutes, he told me everything. Aiden had lied about his role in a major campaign. The success he bragged about wasn't even his. He had taken credit for work done by 3 junior staffers. There were receipts, emails, screenshots, proof. I saved them all. Then came Sabrina. I followed her coaching platform, signed up for the newsletters with a fake name, joined her virtual workshop anonymously, listened to her preach about honesty among women, about sisterhood bonds. My blood boiled, but I smiled. I also noted the small business sponsors she bragged about, local female-owned brands she claimed to mentor. I contacted 2 of them anonymously, asked if Sabrina charged them or profited from their collaborations. Both confirmed, yes, that was illegal, because she hadn't declared those partnerships as paid promotions. No disclosures, no contracts, just backroom money under the table. That was enough. Enough to take her down without touching her. But revenge isn't just about exposure. It's about delivery. It has to sting. It has to haunt. One night, I sent Aiden a message. Not from my number. From a fake account. It said, "We both know you didn't earn that job. Let's hope your boss doesn't start asking questions." No reply. 2 hours later, his LinkedIn went private. The next morning, he posted a vague story, taking time to realign, refocus, and ground myself. And that's when I knew. He was scared. But I wasn't done. Sabrina's moment came a week later. I sent a detailed report with timestamps, screenshots, quotes from her workshops, and messages from the brands she charged illegally to Instagram's monetization department, FTC compliance, and every single business she had listed on her portfolio. Within 48 hours, her coaching page was suspended. Within a week, she lost 3 sponsors. And me? I sent her flowers. with a note. Just 2 words. Thank you. But I still hadn't touched the core. Them. Together. I had to hit the heart of what they built, the illusion of love, the fantasy of meant to be. So I wrote a letter. A simple one. To Sabrina's new in-laws. I attached copies of the messages she and Aiden exchanged, the ones dated during our relationship. I explained that I wasn't bitter, just that I thought families should know the truth about what kind of woman had joined theirs. I signed it anonymously. They found it. I know they did, because a week later, Sabrina posted a story, crying, no filter, captioned, "Sometimes your past refuses to stay buried." The cracks had begun. You see, they thought I would break. They thought I'd beg, plead, cry, disappear. They forgot something important. You can't destroy someone who's already seen hell and walk back with a smile. Because now, every step they take, they'll wonder, who's watching? Who knows? When will the next shoe drop? And it will. Because this is only the beginning. Revenge isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It doesn't throw dishes or show up uninvited. Revenge is patient, measured, strategic. It waits in the silence between their laughter, in the seconds before their inbox dings, in the slow unraveling of everything they build on lies. I didn't want to punish Aiden and Sabrina with pain. I wanted to punish them with truth. Because liars like them, they only thrive in darkness. So I dragged them into the light. I started small. Whispers. Not loud enough to trace. Not direct enough to sue. But strong enough to plant doubt. In Sabrina's online community, her now weakened coaching empire, I began anonymously sharing screenshots of her messages to Aiden during my relationship. I uploaded them to forums. Attached them to anonymous blog posts titled, "When Your Favorite Coach Was Sleeping with Her Sister's Man." It went semi-viral on TikTok. I didn't use names. But I didn't need to. Her followers figured it out. They started commenting. Wait, is this about? I feel betrayed. OMG. I can't support her anymore. By the end of the week, her engagement dropped by 60%. Her podcast? 1-star reviews flooded in. Her sponsors? Gone. One of them issued a public statement. We do not stand with dishonesty or manipulation, and we've terminated all partnerships effective immediately. Sabrina deleted her Instagram for 3 days. When she came back, she tried to pivot, healing from public bullying, but no one bought it. Because women know betrayal, and they don't forgive it easily. Aiden, meanwhile, was unraveling on his own. After my anonymous warning to his company, I planted the seed. The tip-off about his fraudulent work history, fake campaigns, stolen credits, old emails from disgruntled ex-coworkers had reached HR. He wasn't fired, but he was asked to resign, which, in his world, was worse. I watched from afar as he posted motivational quotes about starting over and the price of growth. I watched his LinkedIn endorsements disappear. His online credibility rot. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. So I went deeper. Remember that journal I found? The one where he called me a distraction. I published it. Not under my name, of course. I submitted an excerpt anonymously to a women's storytelling site, raw, honest, chilling. The site loved it. It got featured. Titled, "He Cheated on Me with My Sister." This is the journal I found after. Within days, it had over 100,000 reads. Comments poured in. This feels real. I want to hug the writer. This is why we don't forgive betrayal. Aiden and Sabrina both posted vague stories about private matters being aired. They knew it was me, but they couldn't prove it. Because I was careful. I didn't break laws. I broke illusions. Still, I wasn't done. I didn't just want to ruin their reputations. I wanted to ruin the foundation of their love. So I sent Sabrina an email. No subject. No name. Just one sentence. Ask him what he wrote about you in the pages I didn't share. The next day, she blocked him on Instagram. Aiden posted a black story with the words, "Some people only love you until they see who you really are." Poetic, isn't it? Watching them implode from the inside. But revenge has a cost. I won't pretend I came out of this untouched. There were nights I stared at myself in the mirror and didn't recognize the eyes staring back. There were mornings I woke up with guilt curled in my chest like a fist. Not because I went too far, but because I finally stopped being the nice girl. And I didn't miss her. I mourned who I used to be. But I didn't want her back. Because she died the day she found her sister's name saved as Wifey. Still, one final act remained. Not for them. For me. I visited my parents. Sat across from them as they talked about Sabrina's hard time lately and how marriage seems to be rocky. I listened. I nodded. Then I said, "She slept with my boyfriend while pretending to help me plan our wedding. She's not confused. She's just cruel." Silence. My mother's hand froze around her teacup. My father blinked twice and whispered, "What?" I repeated it. Calmly. Clearly. And then I left. Because the truth doesn't need a performance. It just needs a door to walk through. Later that night, I got a text from Sabrina. I told them everything. "You happy now?" I stared at the screen. And finally, I replied, "No, but I'm at peace." And I was. Because I didn't destroy her. She did that. I just made sure the lights were on when she did. Peace is a funny thing. You think it comes with forgiveness. But sometimes, peace comes from understanding. Understanding that not everyone gets what they deserve. And not everyone deserves what they get. Weeks passed. Then months. I moved. Quietly. Without a word. New city. New job. New walls. I left behind the apartment where I loved him. And the streets where I once laughed with her. I gave away the dress I'd bought for the engagement Aiden never gave me. Threw out the journal after printing the final page. I didn't keep souvenirs. Only scars. Beautiful, sharp, permanent scars. Then one morning, as I was standing in line at a quiet cafe, I got a call. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something in me said, "Pick up." "Hello?" A long pause. And then a voice I hadn't heard in almost a year. His mother. "Alina. Sweetheart," she said softly. "I hope this isn't too forward. But I thought you deserved to know." My breath stopped. "They're separated." I blinked. "Sabrina and Aiden?" I asked, already knowing. "Yes," she said. "She moved out last month. He's been spiraling." A long silence. "I'm not calling to gossip," she continued. "I just wanted you to know. You weren't the villain. You were never the villain." My heart ached, not for him. Not for her. For the girl I used to be. The one who thought loyalty meant staying quiet. "I appreciate it," I said. "Truly. I always liked you," she whispered, voice cracking. "They made such a mess of everything." I nodded, even though she couldn't see. "Sometimes," I said, "you have to burn the past to grow anything new." She was crying when she hung up. And I felt nothing. Not anger. Not joy. Just closure. But fate? Fate isn't done until it carves the final line. Because 2 days later, I got another message, this time an email. No sender name. Just an address I didn't recognize. The subject line? "You need to know the truth about your sister." I clicked it. Inside was a single PDF. Scanned pages of a diary. Not mine. Sabrina's. The entries began after I confronted her. After the fallout. After the flowers I'd sent. I never planned to fall in love with Aiden. I only wanted to prove I could have him. That I was the one people looked at first. Alina always got the quiet kind of love. The real love. I got the noise, the attention, but never the ones who stayed. I hated that he loved her. I hated how safe he looked around her. How seen he felt. So I took him. Just to see if I could. And I lost myself doing it. The pages blurred. My hands shook. Entry after entry, she admitted it all. It wasn't love. It wasn't fate. It was jealousy. The kind that starts in childhood and festers into something vile. She was always the one they protected. I was the one they praised. But praise fades. Protection lasts. I wanted to be the one who broke her, so I could prove she wasn't unbreakable. The final line? But she was. She is. And I don't know how to live with that. No signature. No explanation of how the email landed in my inbox. But I knew the handwriting. It was real. And with it came the final twist. I was never the victim. I had always been the target. Not because I was weak, but because I was strong in a way they couldn't understand. I closed the file, deleted the email, and for the first time in over a year, I let it go. Because the most powerful revenge isn't ruining their lives. It's rebuilding yours so brightly they have to watch through their fingers, like they're staring straight into the sun they tried to extinguish. Now, I sleep, I eat, I laugh, I write, and every once in a while, I still hear his whisper, "I'll never hurt you." And I smile. Because he didn't. She did. But they both forgot one thing. I wasn't made of glass. I was made of fire. And they taught me how to burn.